Hello everyone. Today in this session we're gonna learn about for loop. Now before I start, let me tell you one story. Let's see here you have a group of musicians and you're gonna welcome them by gifting a bouquet to each of them. So what you do is you start giving a bouquet to each of the musicians. Now there are two things. One, you have group of musicians and then you have one action which you are performing on each of the musicians. So and after doing that you see this particular result. That's what called the for loop. In for loop what happens, you would have been given a group or a sequence or a list that is subjective, we will see later, and then you will be given a action, and what you need to do is perform given action on each member in a given group. That's what called the for loop. Now let me take you to the Python and try to explain it to you with the practical examples. So here we are in Python, and what I'm going to do is here we have the group of musicians created, and now we need to give bouquet to each of these musicians. How are we going to do that? For that, all that you need to do is write for, and then you can use any word or letter over here. I'm going to say X in musicians, and then you're gonna, so this is the instruction. Now you're gonna give the instruction to perform the action. What sort of action you want to perform? Then we want to give a bouquet to each of the musician. So for that what we're gonna do is print X plus, what is it that we want to print? Bouquet. Alright, now if you do this, so what you get is this. See, each of the musician got the bouquet. So you see how simple is it. So in for loop what we do is we simply iterate the action on each of the member in a given group. Let me try to explain it to you with the help of graphics. So here you see we have been given group of musician, and here we have the X, and here we have the X for action. Okay, now for loop starts on the first element in the given group. So for first element is John. So what happens here? It reads John and then it prints John plus bouquet, means simply concatenating bouquet with John, and then here you get this output. Same thing happens with next element, which is Lucy. Now this time value for X will be Lucy, and then the final result will be printed. Same thing happens for D. This time the value for X is D and the final result is printed over here. This continues till the time it finds element in the given group. The moment it doesn't find any element, it stops over there. I just hope that it was clear. So this is how the for loop works. Now there is a case using which you can stop it. You can say a for loop to stop on a given point or continue leaving that given point. For example, we want to perform this same action, but what we want is the moment it gets D, the musician D, I want it to stop, right? So here we're gonna say for X in musician print X plus bouquet, means give bouquet to each of the musician, but when it get, if X equals to, the moment it gets D, I want it to stop, break. Let's see this. So what happens, you see it started the iteration, it performed the action for each of the member who were coming before D or till D, and then the moment it gets D, it just stopped. But there could be a case when you just want to stop it before D. The moment it gets D, you just want it to stop and do not print this particular thing. Okay, so in that situation what you're gonna do is just put this statement before the print statement. Okay, now you're gonna be very much careful about the indentation. Okay, so let me just for simplicity, let me create another example for this thing. Okay, what we're gonna do is for X in musicians, we want to check first if X equals to D, then what we want is, tell me quickly what we want over here. We just want to break the loop, right? Else we want to keep on print X plus bouquet. I'll just copy this. Please check if the spelling is correct or not. Okay, so now what do you think? Is it going to work? Let's see. Ooh, it didn't work. X is an invalid argument for print. So let's see why is it giving the X. Okay, so what we do is, let's try to write it again. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, let me just delete this thing and I'm going to write for X in musicians. All right, and then I want to say if X equals to D, then what you do is just break this, else just print X plus, what we can type is bouquet, BOUQUET, bouquet. Let's print this. Now if you see, the D is not printed. Okay, in the previous example D was printed, so here we said that keep on printing, and the moment you get D, print that, but just stop it. Okay, after that stop it. Here we are saying the moment you get D, just stop that right there, don't even print the D. All right, so the only difference is here we are putting the evaluating the condition first and then breaking, and here we are printing the condition, printing the result, then evaluating and breaking. Okay, now there is another statement. What if I want to just skip the musician D, but I want to give the bouquet to rest of the musicians? So for that, what we can do is, let me just type for X in musicians, and I'm going to say if X equals to D, then simply continue. Sorry, here I'm going to say continue and keep on printing. What is it that we want to print? This particular patch. Okay, this thing we will just print it over here. So if you see over here, each of the musicians have been given a bouquet but not the D. So this is how you can use break and continue statement in the for loop, and it's a very effective and interesting thing to use in Python. Now you must be thinking, what is the use case of this thing? So for that, I strongly recommend you to check out this video of mine. So you see, this is the list. I'll give the link of this playlist in the description section, and in that particular video, check out this one particular list, check out this particular video, and in that what you can do is you can directly jump to 9:05 minutes. Okay, and you can see what is the use case of this particular thing. Until then, happy learning and all the